Before she was my mother, she was a girl from a farm who arrived in a city with nothing but 9 brothers and sisters and a father who believed that hard work was the only inheritance worth leaving.
This is the part of her story I didn't know for years, the part that happened before me, the part that explains everything. If you've ever felt like you started with less than everyone else, no connections, no savings, no safety net, this story is for you. Because she didn't just survive starting from zero, she built something real from it. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how. My mother grew up in a farming family, 9 children. A father and mother who worked the land and knew the value of every single thing they had because they had earned every single thing. When she was young, the family made a decision that changed everything. They left the farm and moved to a big city, a city where they knew no one, no neighbors who recognized them, no community waiting for them, just a new place and the same hands they had always worked with. I've thought about that move a lot as an adult, how frightening it must have been, how much courage it took, not just for my grandfather, but for every child in that family who had to rebuild their world from scratch. My mother was one of them. And what she learned in that transition, from farm to city, from known to unknown, became the foundation of everything she would later teach me about money, about stability, and about building something that lasts. But then, at 20 years old, everything changed again, and this time she had to face it completely alone. That part of the story is coming up, but first I need to tell you about the decision she made that most people in her situation never make. She was 20 years old when she found out she was pregnant, with me. My father was seeing someone else at the same time. When she told him, he made her an offer. He would stay, but only if he could be with both of them. She said no. I've asked her about that moment more than once, how she felt, whether she was scared, and she always gives me the same answer. I was terrified, but I knew that accepting that offer would cost me something I could never get back. She didn't have a job. She didn't have savings. She was 20 years old in a city her family had only recently arrived in, and she chose to raise me alone. That decision, made with no financial security, no plan, and no guarantee, is the most important financial decision she ever made. Not because of the money, because of what it said about her values. And here's what I've learned. Every major financial decision in your life is first a values decision. The numbers come second. She knew what she was worth, and she refused to accept less. My grandfather stepped in, but only for a limited time. What he gave her wasn't just money, it was something far more valuable. And what she did with it in those 2 years is exactly what I want to show you next. My grandfather made her a deal. He would support us financially, but only until I was old enough to feed myself. Not until I started school, not until she found the right job, until I could hold a spoon and feed myself. That was the deadline, and he meant it. But here's what most people miss about that story. The support wasn't just money. My grandfather sat with her and taught her the only financial education she ever received: how to build a budget, how to separate needs from wants, how to set aside something, even a small amount, every single week, no matter what. She absorbed every lesson, not because she had to, because she knew the clock was ticking. When I was almost 2, she started applying for jobs. The grocery store, a fabric shop, anywhere that would take someone with an elementary school education and a willingness to work harder than anyone else in the room. She got the job at the grocery store. She started in the cleaning crew, and she never complained about it once. By the time I was almost 5, my grandparents packed their bags and went back to the farm, back to the life they understood, and my mother and I were alone in that city, really alone for the first time. But she was ready, because she had spent 2 years not just surviving, she had spent 2 years preparing. What my grandfather gave her wasn't a safety net, it was a runway. And the most important thing she did with that runway wasn't survive, it was prepare. Financial independence doesn't start the day you stop needing help. It starts the day you decide to use the help you have to build something that will outlast it. If you're a single parent right now with any kind of support, family, government assistance, child support, the question isn't how long it will last. The question is, what are you building while it's there? That's the difference between support as a crutch and support as a foundation. The city that had once been unfamiliar became home. The job that started in the cleaning crew eventually led to something better. The budget that my grandfather had taught her became second nature. She never stopped being afraid. She told me that once. But she also never let the fear make her decisions for her. She came from a farm. She arrived in a city where she knew no one. She became a single mother at 20 with no savings and no plan. And she built a life anyway. Not a perfect life, not an easy one, but a dignified one, a stable one where her son never went to bed wondering if things were going to be okay. That's what financial independence actually looks like. Not a number in a bank account, a feeling. The feeling that whatever comes, you have the tools to handle it. She gave me that feeling, and it started on a farm with a family of 9 and a father who believed that hard work was the only inheritance worth leaving. If you haven't seen the first video on this channel, the one about the $22 weekly grocery budget, the Nintendo she couldn't buy me, and the 3 financial habits that kept us afloat, I'd start there. It picks up exactly where this story ends.
But here's what I haven't told you yet. The grocery store job was just the beginning. What she built from that first paycheck, quietly, without telling anyone, took years to understand. Next video, the discipline behind the budget, the habit she never skipped, not even once, and the one bill she always paid first, before rent, before groceries, before anything. If you think you know what it was, leave it in the comments. I'll tell you next video if you're right.
And if this story resonated with you, if you recognized something in her journey, in the starting from nothing, in the building without a map, subscribe. Because every video on this channel, we tell stories like this one. Real stories with real lessons. Leave a comment below. What's the one thing you wish someone had taught you about money before you needed it? I read every single one.